Negatives and absolute value. A number's absolute value is its distance from 0 on the number line. Absolute value is always positive. The absolute value signs are treated like parentheses. Always perform the operations inside first. For example, the absolute value of negative 2 is 2, but the negative absolute value of 2 is negative 2. If the absolute value of x is 2, then x could be two different numbers, positive and negative 2. Remember, an absolute value is a measure of how far away a number is from 0 on the number line. Let's look at an example. If the absolute value of x minus 7 equals 2, what is the value of x? Well, we know there are going to be two answers, a positive answer and a negative answer. Let's start with the positive answer. X minus 7 equals 2. Simply add 7 to each side and we have x equals 9. Now let's look at the negative possibility. X minus 7 equals negative 2. Again, we add 7 to each side and this time we get x equals 5. To add a positive number and a negative number, simply subtract the negative number from the positive number. For example, negative 7 plus 2 is equal to 2 minus 7, which is equal to negative 5. Subtracting a negative number is the same as adding a positive number. For example, 7 minus negative 7 is equal to 7 plus 7, which is of course 14. When you have an equation with more than two numbers, you have two choices. First, you can simply solve left to right as you normally would. In this case, you'd work in this order. 9 plus 4, which is 13, minus 7, which gets you 6, plus 2, which gets you 8, minus 8, which is 0, minus 10, which leaves you with negative 10. Or you can group all the positive numbers together and all the negative numbers together. So in this example, you'd have 9 plus 4 plus 2 in the first term and negative 7 plus negative 8 plus negative 10 in the second term. This leaves you with 15 minus 25, which, when solved, results in negative 10. Choose whichever method is more comfortable for you when you have more than two terms. Let's take a look at how to multiply and divide negative numbers. An even number of negative numbers will result in a positive product. For example, 3 times negative 4 times 2 times negative 1 is equal to 24. Because there are two negative numbers, which is an even integer, our product is positive. On the other hand, an odd number of negative numbers will result in a negative product. For example, let's use the same equation as the last example, but instead of a positive 3 as the first term, we'll use negative 3. Now we have three negative terms, which is an odd number, and that changes the product from a positive 24 to a negative 24. Let's look at an example problem. If negative x minus 2 equals negative absolute value of negative 6 minus 2, then x equals... Taking the equation given, we'll start working from the inner set of parentheses. 6 minus 2 is 4, so we're left with negative x minus 2 equals negative absolute value of negative 4. This can appear confusing for many because of the double negative signs. We have the negative absolute value of negative 4. Remember that the absolute value is always the positive difference between the number and 0 on the number line, so the absolute value of negative 4 is positive 4. But because there's also a negative sign outside of the absolute value sign, our positive 4 is made negative. So our equation becomes negative x minus 2 equals negative 4. We'll add 2 to each side to isolate the variable and get negative x equals negative 2. If negative x equals negative 2, then positive x equals positive 2. That's our answer.